God, clinic, school reports, and a progress report on the baby. Hankies, hard questions, and handbags of mischief. In the left-hand drawer of my mother's dressing table, among her treasures, all smelling of a birthday bottle of Chanel No. 5, is my first school report. I quote it in full. Attendance, good. Conduct, excellent. Always remembers to bring a handkerchief. I relate this partly because my mum thought it indicated future greatness, and partly because we have just received Benedict's first school report on the eve of his 5th birthday, and genius is writ plain. Here are some of the best bits. Language and reading, a good start. Number, which means sums, a firm grasp of sets and subsets, whatever they may be. PE enjoys apparatus both large and small. Did ever a mother have a greater treasure to store in her dressing table drawer? My husband Simon wishes I would store it in my dressing table. I have had photocopies made to send to my No. 4 sister in Ireland, and I keep bringing it out to dinner parties if the conversation seems to be flagging. But wait a minute. Read another way, it sounded quite different. Was it possible that the quick inquiring mind means that he never stops asking irritating questions? Under social development, it says he is relaxed in his attitude towards adults, showing no constraint or timidity towards them. Now, does that sound as though a little more constraint and timidity would be appreciated? And there is no mention of hanky provision. Oh dear, perhaps my little paragon appears as an over-inquisitive, bolshy infant, possibly with a dripping nose as well. At parents' evening we were reassured that the quick inquiring mind has only been wanting to know who discovered numbers and about some of God's less explicable behaviour. There could be no one better equipped to answer such hard questions than his teacher, the as yet uncanonised, though it can't be long, Mrs. Morgan. From listening to Benedict, you realise that she is Britannica personified. She can do sums in the air, and it is she who sits at the left hand of the Almighty. Triumphantly, he brings me back his discoveries. Mummy, how do you know there's a God if you can't see him? I don't know, darling. How do you know there's a God if you can't see him? Well, you know it's Wednesday and you can't see that, can you? Mrs. Morgan, mistress of metaphysics, I salute you. I try not to be jealous, and there are advantages. Whenever I get asked, how do all the television programmes squash along the aerial, or how much toothpaste would it take to block up at the drain, I just say, ask Mrs. Morgan. But there are some problems which would fox even Mrs. M. I am sitting with Miranda on my knees. I know it is Wednesday because we are at Well Baby Clinic. She is almost a year old, and I can't put off her 3rd jab any longer. When Ben was a baby, I deliberated long and hard about immunisation. I even investigated it for a magazine article, interviewed GPs, health visitors, mothers of kids with whooping cough, mothers of vaccine-damaged children. In print, I said confidently that if there were no medical reasons to prevent it, it seemed best to have the jabs. So with fingers crossed, I had Ben immunised. That was 4 years ago. Since then, I have heard that unmistakable heart-rending whoop in the doctor's surgery, seen pale, exhausted children and paler, more exhausted mothers, worn out from sleepless nights. I have looked after a friend's 3-year-old, her eyes filled with panic as she gasped for breath. Now I don't equivocate. In print, in private and in person, I say, if your child is one of the lucky ones who can have the vaccine, for its own sake and for the sake of those who can't, don't dither, just do it. It's still hard. Sitting in the clinic, wondering how could I expose this little plump picture of health to even that infinitesimal risk of damage from the vaccine. But it is Wednesday, and you hope there's a God, and you do it. Miranda was fine, and is coming on apace, and a tooth. On that front, she has cut 5 teeth in 4 weeks, a lot of wakeful nights during which we tried every recommended remedy, except rubbing brandy on her gums, though Simon and I did rub a little brandy on our own gums during the nocturnal vigils. Yes, she's coming on apace, 4.5 paces to be exact, before she falls over. She can stand unsupported and claps her own cleverness until she topples over. This is such a glorious age for a baby. There are new discoveries to make every day, cupboards full of mysteries, drawers full of delights, and handbags full of mischief just waiting to be unpacked or unravelled or posted down the lavatory. It's the beginning of understanding words. Though Miranda's vocabulary consists only of 2 recognisable words, dad, dad, da for her father, and nana for banana. When she wants to call me, she just says dada or nana in a specially peremptory or panicky voice. Mum is not her word. At any rate, not one of the words Miranda uses. Anyhow, Benedict seems to understand her. He generally talks scribble with her, so I can't understand either of them. Though I did hear him explaining to her about Christmas and inviting her to his school nativity play. They're easy to make fun of. Angels in brushed nylon raiment, and shepherds with car rugs and tea towel headgear, and Joseph always picks his nose. But there is something about the innocence, enacting innocence, that brings a lump to the throat. And that reminds me, when I go to the Christmas performance of Ben's class, I must remember to take a hat.